I'm here with Denis and Myrtice Wilson from the Northgate Tenants Association. Northgate is a large housing complex in the New North End that's at risk of losing its federal subsidy. Right now, the units are rent controlled, and a year from now, they may lose that aspect. Today, we talked with legislators a little bit about some of the issues facing the loss of subsidized housing. Can you tell me why you think it's important for legislators to hear about this?
Because at this present, there aren't enough laws to protect the people. When the owner prepays his mortgage, he could double and triple the rent with only giving people 30 days notice, or he could turn it to condos, or he could sell it to somebody who's just very unscrupulous, even worse than the situation is now. Uh, so we need some kind of legislation to help protect us out there.
Do you think that legislators are aware enough about the the issues that face Northgate?
I would like to think that they are not aware, but I feel that they are. I think the most important issue right now is money. And as long as they are focusing on making a dollar, I feel that there are going to be a lot of people left to bear the burden of money being made in situations such as this.
I see a real difference between the legislators hearing from someone like myself who's an advocate and hearing from the Tenants Association. How can the Tenants Association and the tenants involved make their voices heard more to legislators?
Well, that's very difficult right now because a lot of people that really need to be heard are poor and can't get up to Montpelier to talk to the legislators. The legislators have to make themselves more available to the people, coming down where the people live and finding out what they really need so that they can really speak and get the help they need. Right now, some of the people aren't even told when they could speak or what's going on so that they can talk to their representatives.
How are tenants out at Northgate feeling right now? What's the mood, Myrtice?
I feel that there are a lot of tenants who are afraid because they don't know what their next move is going to be. And a lot of tenants, I say some don't even want to think about it because they know that they can't afford to make any moves right now. So I think right now there's a lot of fear, and there could be panicking, shortly if something isn't done to give them some hope.
How many people live out at Northgate?
Uh, 2000.
So,
I'm sorry. I like to correct that. I say about 1,000 plus.
um, what is the Tenants Association doing now? What are your plans for the next few months? What will you be looking to do?
To become a lot stronger than we are, to get more tenant participation in being organized and knowing what our rights are and some of the options that we can do.
What are the legal issues that legislators could be doing to help you?
Well, they could help us with a co-op enabling law.
What is a co-op enabling law?
All it does is it says that co-ops are a legal entity and people can form co-ops now.
So what I don't really understand. What does a co-op do?
A co-op is if a building or a complex would be owned collectively by the people that live there. They would be in charge of how it's run and any work that rehab or maintenance that needs to be done on it. They would be in charge of how the money is taken care of instead of a private developer who lives elsewhere being in charge.
So it's like the tenants become the owners of the complex.
Yes.
So you need to get co-op enabling legislation passed. Is there anything else that legislatively that could happen to help the tenants?
Some rent control laws would be very helpful because when you go from a subsidized renting to fair market, that means triple the rent. Besides the cost of having to move, you've got to go from 300 a month to 600 a month just in rent.
Do you think that there's a lot of support out in Northgate for something like rent control?
I feel that yes, there is a lot of support, but we're not getting it on the basis that we would like to have it. But we know that if need be, the support is there. Um, I can't say that we are going to be successful at getting 100% support from the people there, but basically the support is there.
Right now, the way that your rents work, it's actually a type of rent control, isn't it? Where you can only get rent increases so often and they can only be so much. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
So how does that work?
Oh, basically, how does that work? And I think you have
Well, HUD has their hand in Northgate is subsidized in a different way than most people would realize. All HUD is involved in is they have guaranteed the mortgage. HUD does not make any payments to the owner, so that if you don't pay your rent, the owner does lose his money. So HUD has guaranteed the mortgage, so that's how HUD gets to stay involved. And anytime the landlord wants to increase the rent, he has to notify the tenants 60 days ahead of time, giving the tenants 30 days to counteract or argue any of the points he has laid out as reasons for the rent increase. And so far to date, HUD has approved every single rent increase. So it hasn't helped us very
no,
much.
it doesn't really.
Um, Now, Northgate Tenants Association recently had a real victory on a piece of legislation that was the condominium conversion law. Can one of you two tell me about that?
Yes, I think you should.
Okay. Back and forth.
Well, yes, because she has more input on that than I.
The condo conversion law means that if an owner wants to convert, he has to notify the tenants. The way the state legislation reads is that a tenant would have the option to buy, but that means only one tenant would have the option to buy his one unit. The way the Burlington legislation reads is the tenants can organize into a group and buy the place as a whole. Gives us a lot more rights, and he also has a longer notice period that he has to give the tenants, so they have a little more time to move out if they can't afford to buy.
We There were some fun things that the Northgate Tenants Association did to help move that condominium conversion law around. I remember that we leafleted and got everyone to call their representatives that maybe wouldn't have been so supportive and turned a lot of people out to the polls. Can you tell me, what can other tenants learn about how collective action works from the sort of fun things that the Northgate tenants did on that particular piece?
Well, we were able to get the legislation passed, and the city of Burlington learned a lot more about what the tenants really need, and it was a benefit. It was something positive that tenants could work towards.
And every tenant did a little piece. That was the big
Yeah.
thing that amazed me, is that, when the Republican representatives in Ward 4 got, 60 calls about the same issue, it really seemed to make a difference.
Yeah, it really showed that being organized does help, and that when you're a group of people all fighting for the same thing, you get more people listening than if it's one person complaining here and there.
So you did a survey and you found out something about the tenants that live at Northgate. What can you tell me you found out about it in your survey?
Well, most of the population out in Northgate is composed of working class people. Uh, what what the press likes to call the working poor, where their income is below 10,000, below 15,000 a year. That's before taxes are taken out. So they have to live on uh, almost welfare level. Some of those, and they find it very hard because Northgate, the way it was constructed 20 years ago, does not meet a lot of the housing codes. So it's not insulated properly, and sometimes during the wintertime they pay more for the heat than they do for the rent.
Can you tell me about the heat there? Oh, wait, Myrtice, were you going to say something?
Yes, I would like to add this that 82% of the people there are working class people. So it's not a welfare development.
Hmm.
So I just want to emphasize
So
that.
what do people do there when they can't afford for their heat? What happens?
Well, you either shut it off or they cut it off. Either or. Now we do have some organizations that are helping people in situations like that, but even that is not enough because the 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 houses are very poorly insulated, and it's very costly to heat the place and to be comfortable during the winter months. So it will cost you much more than you're paying for rent to heat it.
Is there anything else that either of the two of you would like to say to people who are going to watch this show about what low-income people and what tenants can do to help have their voices heard more by legislators?
I think they just need to get out. I mean, all through our lives, we're told that one vote counts, but we're never actually able to see it count. And what the people really want doesn't always happen. But if you have enough people that are fighting for the same cause, it does work. The Northgate tenants were able to push the condo conversion, and we're hoping to meet with enough legislators to push some other statewide issues to help all tenants in general.
Myrtice, you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I would like the support from the community. I would like to see people more, I say more supportive of groups or organizations like the Northgate Tennis Association in trying to make a better life for those people who are of need at this time. And Northgate is a place where people could tend to come and go. You know, it's not a permanent resident there. You know, I mean, some do has taken it up as permanent residency, but for most people, it's just a stopping place. And I would like to see, you know, housing developments like Northgate available for people who need it at that particular time because this is a very changing, rapidly changing society, and you know the opportunities for making money are not always there for some people at that particular time. So we just like to emphasize low income housing for people who are of need, and with hope that you know they will go on to bigger and better things.
Yay. Thanks a lot, both of you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.